Hi everybody, this evening I'm down at Pukerua Bay. This is the location I was at a few videos ago, shooting starfish and flashing the UV light around looking for UV fluorescence. I'm here shooting, the Milky Way, and I've got the Nomad Move Shoot Move all set up. I'm going to use that and probably just do some basic stacking. You can see my lighting set up today has UV light. Looks a bit scary, doesn't it? And I've just got the normal torch. I didn't bring a few things. I didn't bring a head torch, which would have been helpful. But I did bring some chocolate and chips, so that'll keep me well fed. There's a moth. Whilst I'm just waiting for these long exposures to be complete. So there will be lots of videos on how to set up a Move Shoot Move. And I'll just give you a very brief overview of how I've set this up this evening. So the tripod should be on some sturdy ground, even if it is, rocks. And the way that it's set up should be like flat. And if you've got a tripod with a wee spirit level or bubble level, you'll see that that should be sitting flat with the bubble in the centre. Moving up the chain, I've got that ball joint. And the angle of the Move Shoot Move is at about 41 degrees, which is I think the latitude. And you can measure that with an app on your phone. And then I've got the Z plate. And so you could have the B plate, but for some reason I purchased two Z plates. It doesn't matter, it sort of works. Have that so that the next ball joint is pretty level. And that way you can sort of take some long exposures and stitch together a panorama. And then, yes, camera on top. Beauty. I'm rocking the 14-24 f2.8. And I really like this lens because the little LCD on top. When it's turned on, let me just press the button. Can show you that you're sitting at infinity focus. Yeah. When this is tracking, you can get exposures well beyond a minute, and here I had one at 2 minutes. Really, it's good to check that you don't have any star trails. So for that, you just obviously zoom in and have a sort of look around the picture, and you can get right to some, almost pixels. Yeah, so that is the setup. When taking some long exposures at night time, it's worthwhile using a remote shutter, or to prevent shake, you could also have the self timer set to something like 2 seconds. There seems to be a few different ways to shoot the Milky Way. One way could be just through a single exposure, and you have the shutter speed set to a length where you can avoid star trails, and you just have to bump up the ISO to get some detail. You can use noise reduction and some post-processing if you want. The second way could be stacking your images, so you just take multiples of what you have taken just prior, and through stacking you can average out the noise. Another way, which I'm doing today, is using a star tracker, and that's nice because you can keep the ISO low and extend out the shutter time upwards of many minutes, which is great for wide angle lenses. You could, pause the tracker and then take some foreground images on the same night. I think it's all a creative process. So just do what you feel is comfortable and perhaps experiment a little bit yourself. One of the advantages to having the star tracker set up like it is at the moment, with like a V or a Z plate and then a ball joint on top, is that you can stitch together like 2 or 3 rows of images to make a panoramic photo. And because the star tracker moves at the rotation of the Earth, you can just treat the sky like you would like the foreground during the day when you're shooting a pano. When making a panoramic shot, it's quite useful to have degree markings, and so when, I guess, on a level surface you've got the bulkhead joint, then you can just swivel it around, say by 30 degrees for each shot, and then you can change, if you want the second row, you can change the angle of like the B or Z plate, or you could just use the bulkhead joint and just angle it up a little bit further. And once you're finished taking the panoramic of the night sky, you can pause the star tracker and take the foreground shots and stitch them together too. I really like the Z7ii, and presumably the newer Nikon cameras have this too, but when you're shooting, I guess, more than 30 seconds, there's a good countdown of how many seconds there are to go, so you're not left waiting and wondering. It's quite nice being out by yourself doing astro. Being in the dark, you tend to tune into other senses. For example, I can hear the waves sort of gently coming up on the shore. And it's also interesting to see the details in the Milky Way just with your own eyes too. There's something to be said about gathering all the photo data in the same spot at the same time. And so for a couple of these shots, we'll expose for the stars, and then we'll take one of the foreground. And I think I'll do a little bit of stacking the stars, even with the tracker running. Alright, so I'm going to wrap up the night there. Thanks for tuning in. It's a very short video, and I acknowledge that perhaps there's not really that much to show in the dark. Yes, but hopefully I can catch you in the next video. I'll pop some photos up now. Right, see you guys, bye.